How's it everyone, this is Lolcohol, and in today's video, I'll be sharing some tips on surviving Scourge. A lot of people have been complaining about dying to Scourge. It's an inherently rippy league mechanic, and you're gonna be punished if you're ignoring your defenses. These tips are going to relate to many builds and be kind of general tips. However, some of them are gonna be specific to the Seismic Trapper build. First off, your flasks. Flasks are one of the most powerful, but also overlooked defensive layers, especially by new players. Having a simple panicked life flask or instant recovery when on low life flask, this is going to help massively with keeping you alive. If you take a big hit, you just hit this button, your life shoots straight back up. Also, your suffixes that provide ailment, immunity, and avoidance. These are very important. Corrupted blood immunity, freeze chill immunity, shock, ignite, poison reduction, curse. All of these things together provide a very powerful layer of defense. So over at the Menagerie, you can see all these mods that relate to ailment avoidance. I believe convection is, they've changed the name of these, so it's a bit confusing, but this is poison, shock, bleed immunity, all of these. I'm sure there is a guide on what's what. I'll try to link it in the description, but instead of wasting all of your alterations, you can roll your flasks like this. Just go over to the Menagerie, put your flask in, and then do the recipe, and then you can get your ailment, avoidance, or immunity here. Another thing, and I feel like this is almost mandatory this league, is a Quartz Flask. This provides phasing, so when you use it, you'll be able to run straight through monsters, and this is very important because the second you hit that button and enter Nightmare, you're going to be swarmed, and if you cannot phase through the mobs, you're just going to get blocked, hit, and die. So I feel like Quartz Flask, I'm probably going to be using this on most of my builds this league. Another one that I have recently employed in my build is a Granite Flask. Now, I am an evasion-based character, but I figured my evasion on its own is about 76%. If I use this, it just jumps up to about 81%. So I figured, what about a Granite Flask? So that when I do eventually get hit, there's at least some armor behind it. If I pop that, my armor jumps up to about 5.2k. And since I've started using this, it feels really, really good. So another great flask will be a Jade Flask or a Granite Flask, just so that when you do get hit, there's going to be some layer of defense behind it. Quicksilver Flasks, these are also great for getting around monsters and repositioning really quickly, especially if your Flame Dash charges are out. So it's not just a quality of life thing, this is actually a very nice defensive layer. Movement speed in general, very important for defenses. Another little quick tip, having a defensive guard skill on your left click is very nice. I'm using Steel Skin, and by placing it on my left click, it means that while I'm moving, it'll just instantly recast all by itself. Then I don't have to worry about manually casting it. There's a lot of other ones. I think Molten Shell is one, Arcane Cloak is another. So if you have a guard skill on your build, try putting it on your left click. Just make sure that it is instant. So you can see here, it says cast time instant. If it says that, then you can place it on your left click and it'll automatically cast as you go. Talking about auras. Now this is partially specific to this build, but perhaps you'll be able to glean something from it. I'm currently using Grace. This provides 29% more evasion and 2,500 flat evasion. I'm also using Defiance Banner. This was recommended by someone in the comments. I'll try to find your name, but if not, thank you. This again also provides even more evasion and armor and reduces enemy crit chance. So these two together provide a lot of defense. If I turn off my Grace, you can see my evasion chance goes down to 55. If I turn off my Defiance Banner, this further drops. So does my armor and physical damage reduction. So those two combined for this build are very good. Maybe even Determination would be a great choice. Armor this league feels really, really good, even if you're not investing in it. Just having a little bit of a bump to your armor with something like a Granite Flask, maybe Determination, although that's a lot of mana reservation, but just look at your auras, see that you're actually using some defensive auras, because these two will help you staying not dead. Another thing I've been using is Enduring Cry. Now this helps to generate endurance charges, and endurance charges mean further physical damage reduction and also a little bit of extra resistance. So when I am in a pack of mobs, I'll just hit my Enduring Cry and then I'll get 3 endurance charges, which further improves my physical damage reduction. If you're playing maybe a duelist or marauder, you can grab Call to Arms. This will make your Warcries instant, and then you can put this on your left click, and then it'll work similarly to a guard skill where it's just constantly casting as you move. One of my new favorite mechanics is Spell Suppression. I feel like this is one of the best defensive layers for shadows this league against spell hits. Previously, we had Phase Acrobatics, which would allow us to dodge spells, and this was nice, but when a spell eventually hit, it would deal full damage, and often that would lead to big damage spikes, and it wouldn't give you a chance to react to it, to hit a flask or something like that. Instead, what we have is Spell Suppression. What this means is that spells that do hit only deal 50% damage. So this gives you a lot more time to react, especially if you're getting lots of little small hits. It'll give you a chance to hit your life flask. And on this build, with Aziri's Step and a bit of investment on the tree, we're sitting at 82% spell suppression. And Quartz Flask, another really great thing about Quartz Flask is another 10% chance to suppress spell damage. So with all of this, we're sitting at about 92%. I could go over to my tree and grab these nodes, and then I would have 100%, but I'm happy with 92%. It feels pretty good. One other thing that's very important, and I can't believe I have to say this, but make sure your resistances are capped. Don't let your fire, cold, or lightning resist be under 75%, and also try to get your chaos resistance above 0%. It is pretty easy to do in Trade League. You can get some chaos resistance gear on the trade site fairly easily. However, if you're playing a shadow, there's also these nodes on the tree, which are very nice. These 3 nodes together add up to 45% chaos resistance, and also the mastery gives you another 7%. So for 4 points, if you're pathing down this way, you can get 52% chaos resistance. This is super nice and will help you stay alive. So instead of having negative chaos resistance, that will get you killed, because every time you encounter a monster dealing chaos damage, you've got minus 60, you're just going to get killed instantly. So invest in your chaos resistance. And also, if you can find maximum resistance, something like this, +1 to maximum cold resistance, or +1 to maximum all resistances, that is another very strong layer of defense against elemental damage. Something else that is very important is rolling your maps. There are some map mods that are just so deadly that when I see them, I just roll past them. I don't bother. There's no reason to put your life at risk when you can just roll past it easily for 1 chaos, or if you're doing white maps, an alteration. So these mods that I roll past are going to be minus maximum player resistance. Also, monsters fire 2 additional projectiles. Players are cursed with vulnerability. Elemental weakness. You can ignore this if your resistances are very high, but mine are kind of just overcapped. So elemental weakness is a no-no for me. Also, crit chance. Enemies have increased crit chance and crit multi. Super deadly, especially on builds like this, because If you get hit and it's a crit, you're probably dead, especially from bosses. Another mod I absolutely despise is players cannot regenerate energy, shield, mana, or life. I roll past that just because it's annoying, but the previous ones I mentioned, minus max res, additional proj, vulnerability, elemental weakness, crit chance, crit multi, I get rid of those, roll past them, and I promise you, you will die less if you just pay attention to the mods that you're rolling on your maps. And lastly, this is gonna sound kind of obvious, but life is your best defensive layer. Even if you've done everything that I said previously, if you're running around in red maps with 2,000, 3,000 life, you're gonna die and you're gonna deserve it. It's not gonna be the game's fault. I always try to allocate at minimum 150% life on the tree, if not more, and then prioritize life on my gear. This just means that all of the previous defensive layers that you've employed are going to be improved by your life. If you have, let's say, 30% physical damage reduction and you get hit by 10,000 damage, this is just very rough math. You get hit for 3,000 damage. Now, with my current life pool, I can deal with that. That's fine. I've got about 6,000, 7,000 life and energy shield. However, if you're running around with 2,500 life, even if you've got that same layer of physical damage reduction, you're just going to die. So try to make sure that you're paying attention to how much life and energy shield you have. Also, something very nice on this build is Ghost Dance. So every 2 seconds, I get a Ghost Shroud up to a max of 3. And when I do get hit, I lose a Ghost Shroud and recover ES equal to 3% of my evasion rating. Now I have about 26,000 evasion ratings, so this is close to 800 energy shield when I get hit. This works very nicely with evasion because I'm mostly evading hits, so my Ghost Shrouds are almost always up, and when I do get hit, it's regenerating some of my energy shield. So now that I have done my spiel, how about we hop into a T16 Delirious Forge of the Phoenix. Monsters have increased AoE. Monster extra fizzes fire, and let's see how long we last.
Just need a moment to catch my breath.
Another thing while I'm playing is for this trapper build, try stay behind your traps. So don't throw your trap down and then flame dash past it. Try stay behind it like I'm doing now. This is specific for this build, but there you saw I got a pretty chunky hit, but luckily I've got about 6,500 life and ES combined, so I was alright. What's that? Oh! What's that with this league? Nice. Cool. Alrighty, boss time. Hey, 38 chaos, sweet. Let's see how the boss goes. Now, I have deliberately specced some of my life into defense, as you can see. Wait, that makes no sense. I've deliberately lowered my damage so that I'm not just constantly dying. So, if you're looking at this like, oh my god, he's doing no damage. Well, it's because I don't want to die every 3 seconds. So, yeah. There we go. There is a Phoenix kill with some spooky mods, Delirium, hitting the Scourge button, and I don't think I ever felt uncomfortable during any of that. So, hopefully that's kind of a proof of concept that all of these things that I've shared together help you to stay alive. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to be part of the community, there's a link to our Discord in the description. And if you want to catch me live, you can find me over at twitch.tv/Lolcohol. Also, if you really super duper love the channel, there is a link for my Patreon. There are a few little benefits, you'll see. But anyway, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. If you have any other ideas, also please leave it in the comments below. And have a wonderful day, everyone. Stay safe, and I hope you die less, especially less than Ziz. Bye.
Divine power! Divine power! It's launching, Exile. You're making me